This is Neil King for Random Acts of Cartooning, and there's a new Godzilla movie out, so I think it's time to draw some Godzilla. But first... Okay, everyone, for this influence for this episode, we should see one of the great books made of Godzilla, since this is a Godzilla episode. And if you've ever seen it before, it's called Art Adams' Creature Features. And look at me, I think this is an actual signature on there. Unbelievable. But he did a book, and he has Creature from the Black Lagoon and Godzilla in it, and he's a big fan of all these things. It's a beautiful book of these reproductions. So he has these stories, and he kind of follows through. So we're focusing in on look at this great image. Creature from the Black Lagoon, just beautiful. But his big thing is he loves Godzilla, and he did just a beautiful job on it. The thing about Arthur Adams, if you know his work, and most people do in comics, he's known also for doing very attractive women and everything like that, but his monsters are really great. So it's all his hatching and cross-hatching. He's a master of it, and he just does different types of techniques. And I'm going to show you this book, which I think it's beautiful, and I think they do a great job with the coloring. This is an older book now, so they're pretty flat colors in here. But the reality, and just he's got great action. He's such a great technician of everything that he does. Love all of his work. But I always find, like, when I see things like this with color on it, and it's kind of a little bright to me for this, you lose the idea of how much work he obviously did on this stuff. So the story's fun, and it's Godzilla. It's not an easy thing to write for, and there's been a lot of Godzilla films, and not many of them are something that I would think about the story. But Godzilla is such a great character, and he does such a great job with this. And I'm showing this, and it's beautiful. It's spectacular, but I just wish it was mostly in black and white. And what I have here is an Arthur Adams Modern Masters volume. And it has some of these images from this story that he did in just black and white. And this is what I would just wish it was this. Like, that artwork, it's just so spectacular. And when you really look at that hatching and the time that it takes to make all this happen, the water effects. Look at that water coming off of him, rain, all something in the background. So I just pulled a few of these. It's kind of known more for this, but look at that great dinosaur. But I'd rather see that image like that. Look at it, beautiful. All the hatching, great text. Even this cover, as nice as it is, I prefer that. Look at that beautiful texture inside, all the detail. That's Art Adams, spectacular master, illustrator. He loves all this stuff, and I love his work, everything he does, so many books. But if you could pick up any of these, Arthur Adams, Modern Masters, or this great one. Great influence on me, has always been. So let's get going with the sketch. Okay, so I'm speeding this video up a little bit. So the first pencil stage right here. This is an 11 by 14 piece of paper, about 80 pound. I have my favorite Ticonderoga pencil. And I'm just kind of laying in all my shapes. Now, the thing is with Godzilla is he was originally made up so that a man could be in that costume. So no matter what variation and CGI and all that kind of stuff, he's still the proportions of a man. But he's got, he's this big lizard character. So you have to, in most cases, if you're going to draw Godzilla, you better have him doing that, having that blue flame coming out of his mouth, right? He's a big dragon-like thing. So So I'm just trying to lay in some of the major shapes. And there's just, he's always around buildings, but they're all pretty much torn up because he's a huge, 50-story. I don't know how tall he is, but he's way taller than any building. So in the background, I'm just kind of having silhouettes and all types of images like that. And as I go through, I just am showing myself like where I'm going to go around, because I'm going to attack this with my brush. And I don't do a lot of detail, but once I've got most of the stuff in there, reminding myself, then I'm going to go right in there with my pens to go to that next stage. Now remember, to me, this is a convention sketch quality, so this is what I usually do. So I'm going in with my fountain pen, which has waterproof ink in it, and I'm getting as much of the major detail in. So if you're going to draw Godzilla, I always think that brow is important. You see his eyes and that snout, that kind of a thing, and then it's all the basically kind of architecture on his back, that scales that go all the way down to his tail. So right here, all I'm going to do is get some of the major teeth in there. Like, I really think of him as this just, I feel like if I could do a woodcut of this is how I would look at it, So it's got to be major, thick line, but you have to get some of this detail, you want to get the claws, you want to get all that kind of stuff. And so this is the fine detail that I'm going to do. But I do not go in, and I'm not Arthur Adams, who is far better than I am, but he's much more interested in the detail of all the scales and all the things. I'll do some of that. But I think of him almost like the Thing, the Fantastic Four thing. It's my fountain pen. Love it. And then I'm going to go in with this kind of Pentel brush pen that's a little thinner than my larger Pentel brush pen. So I go in and I'm really just kind of setting up a little more detail. Scales, I've been seeing on the newest versions of them, they're kind of making almost armor out of this, but it's all kind of jagged. I really love it. And, this is what's fun about doing monsters. You're just adapting this to your style. So for me, again, you have to be able to get this, I look at it like architecture on his body that builds up onto that tail, because the tail is a big part of him. And I like how they have, now whenever he uses that fiery blue breath, that you see it on his tail, it kind of moves up to his body, and then he just lets go with this, instead of just making it red or yellow. I really like it. I like the fact that it's this color. So I'm doing a little silhouettes back there to set it back. Here's a lot of, again, contrast. You want to see him. He's got to be there. But a lot of the color is going to be that. And then I'm going to jump into my brush pen. And that's where to me, the magic happens with characters like this. First, I just want to kind of get right in there. And it allows me, this pen, to do everything that I think is unique about my stuff, is the dry brush, that kind of motiony feel, but total contrast. I know I'm going to come in here with watercolor on top, and once I do that, then even more stuff is going to have more contrast. But I want to set it up. But to me, he's got to be really dark. I'm getting some nice effects back there, not touching every bit of it, not getting rid of every part to make it all black. You want to leave some stuff there. It gives a nice sense of texture. And again, you just want to say, all right, his legs are coming back. He's probably going to be in front of a building. I don't want to go too far down. I got to worry about that tail. But it's probably, let's get a little building he's in front of. Little bits of architecture. Nothing too much. But if you don't do it, then it won't seem like he's in that scene. So far, you can see I'm just adding all brush pen. Love the pen just because, again, it gives me some clean line, but mostly it gives me that dry brush. And I'll try to move the page a little, see how far it goes down.
Like I say, this is an 80-pound watercolor paper, so it holds up. It surprisingly holds up. Strathmore. And I'm going in background silhouettes. It's going to get really dark and stuff back there once I go in with my color. So I'm almost there. Little bits. Contrast. And this kind of thing, I just want to really see him. Feeling pretty good about this. Establish maybe some more. I'm trying to use that 1-point perspective. Goes back. Pretty simple, almost done this stage. There you go.
Okay, everyone, as you know, I am a working cartoonist, so we are talking about the holidays right now. So don't forget to go to my Amazon site where you'll see some of my different types of books that I have. Strange Tales for Boys and Girls, that's an all ages book. Snowmen in the Springtime, all ages. 3 little pigs in a blanket. These are all things that all kinds of kids would like. Limited color. This is a series that I did. The Deep End. Spaghetti Eddie with the meatball eyes. And My Parents Are Ninjas. That's kind of a 3 tandem thing that I had done. Also, I have more educational types of books. Who Stole All the Heads at the Met? Fun book. All kinds of art history. Then I have some more of my adult books. These were online books that I compiled as graphic novels. Kill Me or Die, Abby in Hell, and Forbidden Planet. Different format, black and white interiors, lots of fun. And then my most recent, Shock, Let There Be Fright. Again, all the things that I'm doing, all my episodes, everything I'm doing here and all of my things, it's really about getting my books. So support me in the holidays and get to friends or someone in your family some of these books. Thanks.
Okay, so now it's time for color. So I do not like to put too much color on him. I want him to stay in one kind of color scheme. So I've decided to make, because of that blue breath, fiery breath, I was going to do complementary. So it's just going to be blue and orange for this piece. So I'm laying in just, destruction with this blue. You're just like, oh, it's what a nice blue. But you put it on Godzilla, much different idea. So I'm going to have it carry through to the back of his tail. That's what they've been doing recently a lot. And sometimes they'll show it inside the torso area. I like that too. But for this one, I'm just going to keep it down there on that. And just establish my blue. And once I have enough of that, I'm going in with my orange. Now remember, I almost think of this as a monochromatic piece in some ways. So I'm going to go over mostly everything with that orange. I'm just going to go in. It's pretty light. And when you're doing complementary colors like this, at first you're like, well, how's this going to go? Is it going to look like a Miami Dolphins logo? Or by doing this, by adding those values, and then when you go in with your darks on top, it will really give you a nice sense of atmosphere. So I'm just kind of moving in, and I want to keep light, medium, and dark with the oranges, but knowing that I'm probably going to go over most of this orange, and you're going to still see it, but it's going to be much more muted and a grimy kind of orange, not such a bright kind of orange. I feel like it has a look even by itself. It's nice, but it's not what it will become when you're working on top. So with watercolors, the way that I work with them is I'll have that bottom layer, and I'll just try and add it to places. I'll even go back sometimes with the blue on top of the oranges because that'll give you a little bit of a darker feeling on that, like have a shadow kind of based on it. But right away, I'm kind of going with a darker value right on top of that orange. And what it does is not only will it have the effect that you start seeing that blue fiery breath a little bit better, it sets his body back behind it. So at first it's hard to tell how far you're going to go, but so I'm going to go in, I'm going to get some of this stuff in. I want to see it. Like this is kind of how I see Godzilla. And maybe it's because when I was very young, they would have the black and white version and stuff. So I like less with him than more. But I think all the movies that they've made recently have really kind of figured out what he looks like. It's pretty nice. I really liked the Shin Godzilla one, the adaptation of it, and this new one, I think it's Godzilla -1. It's supposed to be the best. I'm about to see it, so I'm kind of all revved up to see this thing. I'm not expecting great stories, but again, it's what they do with the backgrounds, and that's what I'm hopefully getting through with this one. Is you have a sense of place, even though there's just the slightest indication of architecture around him. I do want him to pop out. So I'm always saying, is that leg going back far enough? Is this arm and torso working together? You know, the whole thing you want to see is that arm and the back, his right arm goes back in space. So by pushing that, and there's the highlight on him with all this, the carnage that's going on in the front, you know, he just gets pushed forward as long as you're doing your light, mediums, and darks to bring that character out. I want to have that atmosphere in the background, a little bit beaten up. But now it's not so, it doesn't look so much Miami Dolphin anymore. You know, now you really kind of see it as, you know, these grays with a little warmth with that orange and the coolness of the fire effect that goes on there. So all of a sudden, you know, you're not looking at it, it just becomes an undercolor. And with comics, I think the less color, personally, the better. Or that you stay by a color scheme is always wise, like a 2 or 3 color scheme where everything kind of works with it. At least to me, if you're going to do all this inking, why overpower it with all the color? And all those masters out there, the guys who I've grown up with, Romita and all the Burns and all those kind of stuff, you just want to see the work. You want to see that hardship that they put in with that line art, and that's all I'm really interested in. So again, I'm coming down to the end of this, and I don't want to overdo it. I'm outlining to see him a little bit stronger. But as always, thanks for watching, and get out there and see Godzilla. Go see this movie, and so that they'll make more of these interesting looking things. He's a great character. Subscribe, like. Thanks for watching.